Alrighty. Some of you know what this might be. The knob's missing in the front. Oh man, you gotta love the lack of light levels on this camera. I'll take it out here for a minute. There we go. It's the old green Coleman hot water on demand. This one's basically lasted me damn near 8 years. For a camping shower to be used on a daily basis is pretty good and survive, especially for something that's Chinese made and has really shitty build quality and a shitty design. Yeah, inside there, you probably can't see it. I might get the light in on it. It's getting a little bit rusty on the inside. What can we see here? Oh, now you can see it. Yeah, insides are rusting a little bit. You notice it's got flaps there. These bits, I think. Oh, there you go. You've seen that move anyway. Yeah, they got those up the top. And I think I got the damn thing stuck when I've gone and reassembled it at one point or another here. You got ones on the bottom that sort of, you see them swinging. Yeah, they're the ones, so when a gust of wind comes it doesn't blow it out, it temporarily blocks the airflow for the gas burner. Inside this, just get my foot under here, hopefully this doesn't tip over backwards. You see the actual, look, your heat, what the hell they call it, heat exchanger. There you go. It's basically an aluminium radiator with like a barbecue burner. Down in the bottom there's two sort of banks of 4 jets each in the bottom. You may notice the what's his name, little cables there that I've got a bit of a green electrical tape on. The battery they give you, depending on the age of the machine, will be the earlier ones are 4 amp hour, the later ones are 4.5 amp hour battery that goes in these, and they are freaking useless because you can't even get enough current draw to run the pump properly. The pump sounds like a truck going uphill, honestly, if you use the... So I've always tried to use 20 amp hour plus. The last one was 12 amp hour. Last battery's been an absolute piece of shit. I got it from a place that always sells good batteries, but it's just been a pain in the arse. Badly a pain in the arse. Just continuously going flat and not holding the charge like it should. There's your little adapter there to plug in your 12 volt, because this indeed is actually 6 volt battery system, which sort of confuses it. Otherwise I just use a normal deep cycle battery. You can see she's dripping a bit of water out the back there. When you turn it on and you get this thing, then you're annoyed. You've got to wait another hour and a half before you can have a shower, and it's usually fairly late. I don't think I've ever seen the over temperature light go on. And there's your recharging. Now that is supposed to be orange when it's charging and green when it's full. Well, it's the most bloody yellow looking orange and the most yellow looking green you've ever seen, and you can't actually tell when it swaps over. It's basically impossible. A dual colour LED that is the least dual colour LED you've ever seen. But anyway, I had a different external battery charger, instead of farting around trying to charge this off 12 volt, not knowing if I've overcharged it or it's finished yet, or I can, not really knowing anything. And either the charger's going bad or my last battery was bad, and these little 6 volt deep cycles, they're renowned to be pieces of fucking shit. I had American one, and that was fairly good, and the latest one I've got is another Chinese one, and well, it's performing, supposedly it's a good brand, but it's performing just like most Chinese 6 volt batteries. Absolute shit. So I'm sick to death of being strung out by shitty, hard-to-get batteries that don't want to play ball with something that has lost its front knob, and I've had to screw in a bit of pipe which holds in a CD, which is held in by a washer, which is held in by the original screw, and all that does is just turn it on, but it's stuck on a set temperature. So in the middle of summer it's too damn hot, and in the middle of winter it's fucking barely even just... it's barely even fucking 65 degrees, so I'm not having that shit anymore. You know, it'll be bloody lucky if it's 15 degrees Celsius when you're using the water out of this in the winter. Here's its little certification for Australia. That there is supposed to hold your pump. I've got the pump sitting just around the corner. The fittings they make that fit onto there are the most bullshit idea you've ever come across. It's a little pivot fitting, but instead of using a piece of wire as the middle of the pivot, they use the same piece of moulded plastic that the tab's on, and you've got these tiny little bits that should be wire, but they're actually just flimsy ass little bits of plastic, and they break very badly. And yeah, I did have... Oh yeah, there it is. There's a line for it there. That's a dead water pump. Oh, there it is, just sitting there at the end. That's a dead water pump. The good one is right here. So you've got these little, and I've got the shower head attachment too. There's a shower head there. Bit dusty, bit of cobwebs and stuff. There's your little fitting there. Now they should have a bit of wire going through for it to pivot there. You can see the line there. And, right. Oh, fuck this. Let's get this in the brighter light. That's your little pivot. Now, instead of having a pivot there, and there's your little, it's basically like a miniature leaf spring, a sheet metal spring on the back there. And there's your little clip. Now you can slide that on, and if you pull that off, it will just break this and it will blow to bits. And this little tab you can see where your thumb's supposed to go will literally just fly over the other side of the friggin' room. Because instead of using a bit of wire in that pivot, it is the same piece that the thumb tab is on. And look at the damn thing, it's like 1/16 of an inch thick. And she just goes bang, break, fly, and then you're fucked. And you got to hope you got another dead pump or something around, and you can work out how to friggin' change it over, because that's exactly what's happened at that end. That's off a different one. They've just got this crappy little, like a bloody ring, like a machined ring, and it's supposed to hook into there. But the end of it isn't sort of barbed like a fish hook. The end of it's just a piece of shit. And that's literally how I broke one. Pushed it on, got it clipped on, and then I thought I'd give it a little shake to make sure it's settled in correctly, and all I've done was just went kaboom and throw the little tab to bits straight out at my face, which is really good. There's the other one there for your incoming water, and that's your little, you can barely see it, black plug there above it. That's for your 6-volt power for your pump. These are all self-igniting. Like I said, it's designed to sit the little plastic pump in there, and you're supposed to wrap the pipe around this little groove in the bottom here. And I don't know, just wrap it around and hope it all stays in or something. This here, it's like your tap type of thing. It folds back in your handle. It's spent most of its life sitting out, obviously. That I think is the original shower head I bought about 8 years ago, if I'm not incorrect. I think it is. A lot of dust and shit on this. It's been sitting up there. It hasn't really hasn't moved for 8 years, so it's got dust accordingly. I also have a few holes in the wall for letting pipes in and out of, and that might have a lot to do with the dust problem too. And I also realised just recently, just as I was up on the ladder, never realised that one of my flashings doesn't completely cover the end either, which is probably also part and parcel of the dust problem in there. It's really not an enclosed room anyway. You got the gap in between the house and the chimney with air blowing through, and yeah, well, you don't have much of a steam build up in there. So you have a little cover on there with your battery in there usually. And this one here on this side, that's supposed to be where you hold your little cigarette lighter thingy in there to charge it up off your vehicle or whatever, which I have taken out, and it's probably sitting amongst all my loose electronics, or in a box I have that has another one of these in that didn't have as long a life with a bit of a gas jet dirtiness issue. But anyway, this might be getting a second lease of life. Yeah, these tabs are stuffed. That's that one I was pointing out before. I think it's supposed to blow up in wind. Maybe it's supposed to sit down the whole time, I don't know, until the wind blows it, I suppose. I think it is, actually. But anyway, this may well end up mounted into the van, or mounted on the back of the van somehow. And I'm not using any bloody batteries. I'm using a 12 volt to 6 volt converter, which might have to be fairly high powered because the well, the old startup, it's got an electronic igniter. I'm not talking push button, I'm talking there's quite a bit of circuitry, quite a lot of circuitry inside of these, and it just all starts up automatically off that. And I'm sure that draws a fairly high level of amps if you've seen what I've seen. Having said that, I might be able to buy a smaller one and couple it up with a 6 volt capacitor, which may well work actually. Anyway, I'll just go sit him back inside. They're lighter than you think too, they're quite light. I think you'd be lucky to even be 2 pounds in weight, to be honest. They're quite surprising. Oh, they might be 4 or 5 pounds, but they're sort of not as bad as you think looking at them. Ultimately, it's a lot of aluminium and plastic, so can't be too bad. So anyway, I'm stripping everything out here. That was its old mount there. I've just got the bit of wood there with a claw hammer on the top. I took out the big document tub and bada bing, breaking up the concrete that the document tub was sort of bedded into. I sort of, bed it in like you're bedding in a bath. If any of you has ever done that, where you lay down a bunch of sand and cement and sort of nuzzle it in there to, give it a bit of a base, attempt to sort of strengthen it a bit, but I'll clear all that out, and in due course that'll all get vacuumed out or wiped out or whatever the heck. Might just be blown out with an air compressor. And I'll try and do a reasonable job, I hope. That's the flashing up the back there that I thought was covered and isn't. That's the when I was very first here, before I even got the big water tank, that was where the big 1-inch line had come through. And that's where this last one has been overflowing out to the mint, which I've had the pipe, 3/4 inch pipe set up that goes out to the mint. And yeah, so I'm getting rid of some of the shower. There's another shower head in there too. It's hard to see. Got another battery I've got to get rid of in the bottom here. There's a car battery that I'm sort of keeping on a trickle charge here, just in case I need it for experimenting with the van as a deep cycle battery. It's just on a charge controller. You can see the green light there. There's another one here. That's an old tractor battery which was getting a trickle charge, and I had that hooked into my high temperature sealed 12 volts. I think it's like 2.75 gallon a minute. It's fairly high. 16 litre a minute it is. Shit, that's like 4.5 gallon a minute, I think. Yeah, it is. That's, yeah, 12 volt water pump. I think it's about 135 watts or something. It fairly draws a bit of power. But I used to use that sometimes in the summer. But that's actually a high temperature one, so you can run hot water straight through it, and I mean like just about painfully, like just scalding temperatures. It's a bronze casting with a rubberized impeller in it that's not actually normal rubber, it's a high temperature sort of a rubber. So yeah, you can have stuff that's, not boiling temperature, but about to hit simmering temperature. Run through that without a problem. And that was part of the old experiment with the wood hot water system that's out the back that some of you may remember. Anyway, that's actually going to that one there at the moment. Originally it was going to this, which is what the wood hot water system was running through, which unfortunately would only take literally half the flow. And I asked the guy, I want to buy one of these ones at 8 litres a minute. What was that set to? It was about slightly more than 2 gallons a minute, and the dumb bastard come back with one that was double the flow and a huge amount of amperage, and then I had to work out a T-piece with the ball valve to re-bleed out hot water so I wouldn't overpressurise the shower head, because this guy was a dumb bastard who then sat there telling me that, well, I got you what you wanted, and then, oh no, these other ones weren't available, and I opened the bloody manual, and sure as eggs, what do you know, they sold the exact flow level that I wanted, that would have likely only been about 60 or 70 watts instead of 130. Anyway, that guy will not be getting any more business for his, his dishonesty and his bullshit artistry and a number of other things. Claimed he managed to get it at the original price, and then when I told him his original quote, he literally fucking laughed in my face. So, didn't help the arsehole sweared at me once or twice as well. So anyway, these people get the business back that they put into the customers, don't they? Anyway, this is the old hot water system. It was the wood hot water system, and we ate away a sacrificial anode very fast, and you might be able to see a bit of high temperature expansion foam insulation, and I think you can see the original hole and probably the remains of the cathodic protection there, or the anode, or whatever it friggin' is. I should know exactly what it is because I supposed to know that stuff during my apprenticeship, but anyway, there's your one going back in the wall. Sheet metal cover all held by old bolts. It's a bit of a shame that this died in the arse, but it did, and I learnt some things about condensation, and yeah, intriguing. That's like a chimney. It's like an exhaust cement or something. Some sort of a high temperature cement crap that didn't do much. It just, looked like it started eating away at things, and this here's your firebox. This is something that was worked out by me and built by my father. And these are car propane tanks. Well, that's a full one and that's a half one. We still have the ashtray sitting on the front lawn for this as well. And you didn't need to put much water in, but you would also have a problem with condensation coming down from, this has got like boiler tubes in it. So, oh man, hang on, this is going to be a bit of a piss around here. Okay. Well, you see one there. And there's another one. So pretty heavy welding, a lot of cobwebs and bullshit in the way as well. But there's about, what is it now, 5 or 6 pipes through this thing? Something like that. I think there's about 6 pipes go through this, very heavily welded in. And I used to have troubles when I first started up with the moisture in the air, because I was using this in the winter, and the moisture in the air would actually recondense with the halfway up the pipes because of the cold water in this. Then you would have it literally trickling back down on top of the bloody fire, and sometimes it was not good at all because it'd be trickling a lot harder than you ever expected it to be trickling. So anyway, I used to put in a bit of floorboard side on from the middle to the side, so that the water would hit that piece of floorboard and wash off to the side and ultimately go into the ashtray, instead of just keep stuffing up my fire. You would have been stunned if you had seen the amount of water this thing was producing with condensation alone. That had happened until you started to, you know, get some heat into the pipes and the water started to warm up a bit. But until then it was sometimes a real pain in the arse. But anyway, all sat on a whole heap of, they're just sitting there, a whole heap of bricks, a couple of old, well, it's like cinder block corners or something. Yeah, wasn't a bad little experiment at all, actually. And a great little achievement we managed. Yeah, unfortunately it's ultimately dying, which is a real shame, to be honest. And my father has thought of making a wood heater that's vertical, and I don't know if he wants to stand back at any point to make that, but he's sort of, yeah, he's had bigger fish to fry than to do a lot of different things, including replacing a fence that got burnt down. So he's got a lot of these different things on the agenda, and they sort of, you know, when you're retired, you aren't full of free time because you got such a big list of things to do, and you also, you know, yeah, take up a lot of hobbies and different bits and pieces as well. But anyway, look at the height of this. You realise that that's actually the tallest friggin' ceiling in the whole house is this thing. She's a pretty ramshackle show, I know, but yeah, it is what it is. I don't mind it. Some people are, oh, you got to line the ends of, fuck me, I've got that many fucking pipes and bullshit going everywhere. Oh, there's a little gap there. You can't really see it. Right up in the top corner of that flashing. I never realised that was open the whole damn time, you know. I always knew about that because I put that one on, but it's a real, quite dangerous pain in the arse to even get up here because you're on a ladder, and if it ain't perfectly situated on the bottom, it's trouble. This here is the cover. She's looking a bit rough on it. That I could put over the top of this to stop the rain hitting the top of it. That was a slot there to let the pipes out of. This is the little feet that I made that would sort of click into your piece here. So that went a certain way and it angled out here, but it still allowed your pipes to come in and out, which sort of come in and out where I've cut these slots here. And a fire extinguisher, just in case. I don't know where that fire extinguisher's gone. It might be in with a generator, I can't remember. I had a little incident and I had to use a fire extinguisher a while ago, so I'm -1, but I've still got another 4 small fire extinguishers and a big one for the wood heater in my bedroom. That's a colossal size fire extinguisher for that one. Anyway, in due course, we are going to be making a new system, and I was going to get rid of all this big framework here. I don't know if you can actually see how heavy duty some of this is, but this was really made to carry some weight, because these here, I think they're about 5 by 3 and there's 4 of them, and that sort of holds up the whole thing. And I sort of thought, you know what, we might just leave this as shelving, because I could do with some extra shelving. Try and clear out some of the other rooms of stuff that, you know, maybe non-flammable things and stuff that doesn't really need gentle treatment, and store some of it in here and turn all this into shelving. Yeah, we'll see how we go, but I've got to set something up here in due course. I may get rid of it, I may keep it, but just, you know, got to play it all by ear. There's plenty of room here, but well, there's actually not plenty of room, but what I'm saying is it'd be a waste of a damn good space if I didn't do something to store something here. I don't know with the propane system if this is all too much wood too close, and I'll have to get rid of it, but it'd be a shame to sort of waste a great chance at building some shelving in here. Yeah, maybe it just needs to be a little bit less heavy duty. I mean, I've still got wall framing, you know, so I can build it off of that. In case you're wondering about the spacing of the wall framing, that's the standard spacing over here. It's basically 2 foot, because we don't stuff around. We just put the old corrugated iron straight on the studs, and that's the way it is on people's roofs and everything. Except sometimes you have that sucking insulation, the silver paper, and if you're up in the roof space, you'll have the actual fiberglass bats as well to, yeah, insulate the place. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you this little run of what's going on here and what we're doing, and yeah.